what he would have answered. And there is a raffle that will be drawn at the end of the evening, so please stick around to see if you've won any of our fantastic prizes. Despite welcoming you all earlier to the event, I'm always drawn to a tweet recently by BMoreBaker42. I'm still bummed that there is even a reason for a Douglas Adams Memorial Lecture. Many of you will know that Douglas Hadley died way too young in 2001 at the age of 49. And during his life, he was a passionate advocate for many things, one being conservation, and especially for the work of his favourite charities, Save the Rhino and the Environmental Investigation Agency. After his death, the family decided, together with our friends at Save the Rhino, to launch the Douglas Adams Memorial Lectures to allow us to get together each year on or near his birthday to expand our minds on subjects that he would have loved and to keep his support for his favourite charities alive. The reason that we are all here this evening is because Douglas's daughter Polly asked Neil whether he would do the lecture for you today, which he graciously agreed. Unfortunately, Polly, who is now herself a patron of Save the Rhino, is currently working in Australia. And so despite all our pleading, cannot be with us tonight. She did, however, send a message when I asked her to if she'd like to send a message for me to read out. And the exact message she sent back was, James, I'm about to go on an all-day wine tour, not sure how much time I'll have. So that's nice. That's very nice. Honestly, she is missing us all terribly. She would have loved to have been here, not half as much as loving to go and working in Tasmania. But she will, I think she's with us in spirit, and whether she's up in the middle of the night, she can watch us online. But to tell us a bit more about the work of tonight's charities, we are lucky to have with us Julian Newman. Julian joined EIA in July 1987 as a senior investigator, beginning work within the ozone-depleting substances and elephant campaigns. In May 1999, he began his involvement in the forest campaign with a field investigation to Tanjung Puting National Park, shoot me if I pronounce that wrong, in Indonesia. Julian has since maintained a high level of involvement in the campaign, carrying out investigations throughout Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Laos, and China. He has been involved in EIA investigations into illegal logging, smuggling of ozone-depleting chemicals, illicit trade in hazardous waste, and the illegal wildlife trade. Julian was appointed team leader of the forest campaign in December 2004 and campaigns director in 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Julian Newman.
Good evening. I'm aware you're anxiously awaiting the main event, so I'll be very brief. We're here tonight for two reasons. We're here to commemorate the life of Douglas Adams, an amazing person, but also to raise funds for EIA and Save the Rhino Trust, which were two NGOs which are close to Douglas Adams' heart. Because as well as being a great author, he was also a committed conservationist. And in 1990, for example, he wrote this landmark book, Last Chance to See, which was a travelogue that took him to some remote parts of the world to expose the plight of critically endangered species, including the rhino. After that, he became a patron founder of Save the Rhino in 1994. Around the same time, he became a supporter of EIA, so our work on illegal wildlife trade. In fact, 21 years ago, in this very room, he gave a lecture at a fundraiser for EIA called Life, Saving the Universe and Everything. No small themes for him. And during that event, there was someone there from Pink Floyd, David Gilmour. And afterwards, he asked Douglas Adams to come up with a name for the new album, the Pink Floyd album. So Douglas came back pretty quickly with the Vision Bell. The money he got for that fee went to EIA. So thank you very much for that. So just want to speak quick minutes about our work. And in the spirit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you are here. We are living in a geologic age called the Anthropocene. First time we are the dominant influence on our planet and the environment. One manifestation of this is the fact we're in the midst of the 6th great extinction of species. The other extinctions were to do with things like gamma rays, volcanoes. This one's down to us. And one of the most clearest impacts of the humans on our wildlife is the illegal wildlife trade. There's lots of other threats to biodiversity like climate change, forest loss, But a very direct impact is trade in endangered species. This has now become, wildlife crime is now the 4th biggest form of crime in the world in terms of value. It's big and it's growing, yet attention to this issue is still lagging behind. For example, there are now only 3,200 wild tigers left in the world. This trade means there's one less out there. So the problem is exemplified by the plight of the rhino, which was the species that we're here to talk about tonight. It's the rhino in Africa, and in the 90s and bits of 2000, this was a success story. After heavy poaching in the 80s, rhino numbers were bouncing back again. But now it's getting worse again, I'm afraid to say. South Africa, for example, where most are found, in 2000, there were only 13 rhinos were poached. Last year, there was 1,215. This is not being poached for meat or for subsistence. This is being poached for its horn, for trade to the Far East. It's bad and it's getting worse, but there are things we can do about this. For example, Save the Rhino works on both ends of the chain. It works on protecting the rhinos in country and works on reducing demand in the markets. In many range states in Africa and Asia, Save the Rhino supports the efforts of these brave rangers through equipment, training, so they can protect the rhinos. They use drones, aerial surveillance, forensics to try and make sure the rhinos are protected, because right now the value of a rhino horn is more than gold. Lots of inducement for poachers to come and try and take them. But of course, as long as there's demand, this problem will continue. Save the Rhino is also working in some main markets where rhino horn is bought and sold, such as Vietnam. We have a very successful campaign right now in Vietnam, which is aiming to target the key consumers of rhino horn by using Vietnamese cultural messages, because ultimately, while there's demand out there, people want to pay a fortune for rhino horn, the poaching will continue. But for EIA, where do we fit? If Save the Rhino works in the field and in the demand side, EIA, we sit in the middle of these supply chains. Our job is to try and expose and infiltrate the syndicates that are behind wildlife crime. These are not just local people doing this business, it's a big crime with big players involved. We work on species like rhino, elephants, and tigers, and particularly the elephant situation is also getting pretty bad. In the last 3 years, there's about 100,000 rhinos been poached in Africa. Again, it's all to supply burgeoning markets, the price is going up. And last year we did a major piece of work in Tanzania. That's where that picture you just saw, the poached elephant, was from, Tanzania. And we infiltrated some of the main gangs involved in Tanzania that are shipping huge quantities of ivory out to the Far East. The shot was taken in Zanzibar. This is one of the few shipments that was stopped. Many get through. So what we try and do at EIA, we get undercover, we investigate these syndicates, we bring the information to the attention of the authorities, and we try and campaign for disruption, enforcement against these syndicates to stop the crimes taking place. So I don't want to sound downbeat, the situation is bleak, but we believe it can be changed. It was bad in the late 80s and it got better. And today is officially the World Wildlife Day, and the message on World Wildlife Day is stop wildlife crime. And that's what we're trying to do, and with support, we'll do what we can to stop that. So on behalf of Save the Rhino and EIA, thank you for coming, thank you for your attendance, thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a little extra treat for you. Here to introduce Neil Gaiman, we have a man who was chosen not only by Douglas, but also by Neil to bring their unique creations to life on the radio. Multi-award-winning producer and director, drummer extraordinaire, hair to die for, and a dear friend to us all, Mr. Dirk Maggs.